Alright lads, before the video starts, I want to say a big thank you to Lola Alphonse, Tans, Doboa LX, Dr. Bob, Thompson013, RS28 Sama, Slunty, Van Halen, Diogenes, Econ, and newest YouTube member Alan Hacker. This YouTube channel would just not be possible without my YouTube members, so a big thank you to everyone who supports this channel. Hungary was a key ally to the Germans during World War II. Not only were they supplying the Wehrmacht with thousands of litres of oil, but Hungary also had a significant domestic arms industry, which produced everything from rifles to armoured tanks. During the early parts of the war, these locally produced vehicles were fine by the standards of the time, but unfortunately by the mid-war, these domestic tanks were fielded in large numbers and they were already obsolete. Despite Vice Admiral Horthy, the ruler of Hungary at the time, launching a not-so-secret plan to switch sides, the Germans were determined to support their Hungarian friends. And by that, I mean Horthy was arrested and a puppet government was forced onto the good people of Hungary. This false government then increased troop levels on the Eastern Front and went around oppressing left-wingers in Hungary, which I guess is kinda based actually. The Hungarians supported the German front lines in the Eastern Galicia. The 2nd Armoured Division was equipped with the obsolete vehicles such as the Turan 1, which is in War Thunder, and the Turan 2, which isn't. During the division's first engagement with the Soviet tanks, the Turan 2s claimed to have destroyed 2 T-34-85s. During a German attack in April of 1944, the Hungarians also claimed to have destroyed 27 Soviet tanks, with the loss of 22 of their own. The German General Model, the field commander known for his excellent defensive plans, seems to have well respected his Hungarian troops, and by his direct order, the Hungarian 2nd Armoured Division was reinforced with around 10 Panzer IVHs, a small number of Stugs, and even a group of Tiger tanks. Just how many Tiger tanks were sent to the Hungarian army is very disputed, ranging from 6 to 12 vehicles, but around 10 is a good guess. Unfortunately for us, information about the Hungarian Tigers' performance in combat is quite hard to find. But the Tigers of the 2nd Armoured, along with other German tanks, pressed an attack in July 1944 near Nadverna in western Ukraine. A single Hungarian tank ambushed a Soviet armoured column, destroying 8 Soviet vehicles, including several guns as well as several transport trucks. For this successful action, the Tigers gunner, Istvan Lavrentsik, was awarded with the Gold Medal for bravery. Despite whatever short-term success the Tigers brought the Hungarian army though, by the middle of August 1944, they were pushed back to the Carpathian Mountains. Around the same time, the Romanians changed sides and joined the Soviet Union, and almost immediately engaged in combat with the Hungarians. The 2nd Armoured Division was part of the Hungarian offensive towards Romania, but if the Tigers were used in this operational field, it is unknown. The 2nd Armoured would also be reinforced later on with the Panther tank, but the majority of the 2nd Armoured Division would be destroyed during the siege of Budapest, with only a few elements avoiding destruction and then fleeing to Slovakia. Hopefully, Tiger players in War Thunder will have a slightly more illustrious career. In War Thunder though, the Tigris is a premium version of the Tiger E. Compared to the H1, the E has a more powerful engine, better turret armour, a smaller cupola weak spot, and better turret traverse. The only difference between the premium Tigris and the Tiger E in the German tech tree is the Tigris gets additional track armor on the upper frontal plates, lacks the APCR rounds, and doesn't get the 6 smoke grenades. Other than that, the Tigris is a good old fighting Tiger, but is it a good grinder, and is it fun to play? Would you like to find out more about this tank lads? Stick around for the rest of the video. Alright lads, welcome back to the channel. As you've probably seen if you've been following my channel for a couple of weeks now, the last few videos have all been focused on top tier vehicles. So playing the Tiger and coming back down to the lower tiers of War Thunder has been a real joy. Anyway, let's start with the basics. The Tigris is a premium heavy tank in the Italian tech tree, sitting at battle rating 6.0 in arcade, realistic and simulator. It's going to set you back 4,880 golden eagles, and is purchased straight from the tech tree, rather than the Guardian store. This means the tank won't come with extra goodies such as premium time or GE, but it does mean that the Tigris will be on sale for half price during most of the major War Thunder holidays. Seeing as this is a lower tier premium, I would definitely invest in the expert and ace qualifications for the tank. Not only does it increase your rate of fire, it also allows you to repair faster, and generally makes you a lot more useful on the battlefield. For the expert quality, it's 320,000 silver lions, and for the ace, it's 800 golden eagles. The Tigris is located in the 4th rank of the Italian tech tree, allowing you to grind out all of rank 5. This comfortably allows you to use a 6.0 tank to grind all the way up to battle rating 8.0 in the Italian tech tree. The 6.0 lineup is also very favourable to the Tigris. Not only do we have the Tiger, we also have the M18 for mobility, we have the R3 for rushing, don't ask me about the skin, the Leo 4070, an anti-everything vehicle, as well as 2 high explosive flingers, the 2S1 and the M109G. And for cast, my personal choice is the RE 2005 Series 0 and the BF110. While the Tigris probably isn't the best tank to use in a full up tier to 7.0 games, the M18 Hellcat and Leopard 4070 can still bully 7.0 heavy tanks if you exploit your great speed. So no matter what battle rating I got in the 6.0 Italian lineup, I generally had a good time playing. But let's get specific about the Tigris itself. And as always, we're going to start with mobility. The Tigris has an engine producing 700 horsepower, combined with the weight of 57.3 tons. It gives us a power to weight ratio of 12.2 horsepower per ton, which isn't very good. Obviously, the Tiger was never designed to be a speedy boy. As I'm sure you know, it was designed as a breakthrough tank, intended to smash a hole in an enemy's line, and then withdraw and allow the faster, lighter tanks to carry on the assault. So, can the Tigris smash enemy lines in War Thunder? Well, let's take a quick look at this cutaway. As you can see, it is packed full of highly flammable ammunition and bags of meat that we call crew members. So the Tigris has the post-pen survivability of a pane of glass. But can we keep those AP rounds out with our armour? Well, the armour of this tank is very trolly, especially in a down tier. The front of the tank is obscured with the driver's vision port and the bound machine gun. Due to the volumetric armour, these obstacles can sometimes spoof incoming rounds, causing them to bounce. Frontally, the armour of the hull is around 100mm thick, which when angling by about 30 degrees increases it to around 130mm. As you have seen, against 85mm cannons fired by the T-34-85, the Tiger's armour is pretty decent, but in a full up tier, the higher power cannons will rip through your armour. Another thing of note is the lower side of the hull armour. While the upper hull is 82mm thick, the lower part near the tracks is a lot weaker at only 62mm thick, so make sure to not over-angle the Tigris. My advice is to point your gun at an enemy and then look in the bottom left. Don't allow your cannon to go past your frontal hull. This is a very basic way on ensuring that you don't angle your tank, but generally angling is only really useful at your battle rating and below. So the mobility is below average and the armour is certainly workable but nothing special. So what about the firepower? Well, as I'm sure you know, this tank is armed with the 88mm KWK-36 cannon, a gun which in real life was favoured for its excellent high explosive round, allowing it to easily deal with enemy infantry and gun emplacements. While many probably know it was developed from an anti-aircraft gun, the 88 was actually first used for the German Navy. It was then developed into a land-based gun and then into an anti-tank gun. The large caliber and generally slow rounds means the anti-ammo capabilities of this gun isn't the best. It kind of acts as a huge 45 ACP round. It isn't going particularly fast, but the projectile is so heavy that it essentially just batters its way through any sort of armour. But again, the basics. The KWK has 8 degrees of gun depression and 16 degrees of elevation, giving us decent, but not amazing, hull down capabilities. We can also take a maximum of 92 rounds into a battle, but obviously I'd only recommend taking around 18 rounds into an actual game, as this gets rid of most of the ammunition stored in the fighting compartment. The reload rate of the Tigris is also pretty good. With a stock crew we can fire every 9.6 seconds, and with an ace crew that is reduced down to 7.4 seconds, which isn't bad at all. The Tigris has 4 rounds available to it, and as I stated in the introduction, this premium does not feature the APCR round found on the other German Tigers. Instead, we have a heat round, a high explosive round, and 2 APC-BC rounds. The stock round for this tank is the PZGR-39. It travels fairly slowly at 773 meters per second, which is 25% less velocity than the King Tigers gun, for example, and it can penetrate 165mm of flat armor. and contains 109 grams of TNT filler. The other APC-BC round, the PZGR, travels faster at 810 meters per second. It penetrates less armor though, at only 153 millimeters of armor, but contains a whopping 215 grams of TNT filler, making it a post-pen monster. To be completely honest, I didn't notice too much of a difference between both of these rounds when playing. The 109 grams of TNT in the 39 is still good enough for a one-shot kill against most opponents, and the lower penetration of the PZGR is still good enough to knock out 99% of enemy tanks. I guess it is up to player's discretion which round you use. The 39 obviously has a bit more penetration, and the PZGR has just better post-pen damage. I'd say that the PZGR is probably the overall better round, as it's just more reliable for getting post-pen kills. Just make sure that you learn the weak spots of most of the common enemies. Which brings us on to one of the main weaknesses of this tank, and that is the enemies in up tiers. Against a King Tiger, the Tiger Henschel, there is literally nowhere you can shoot frontally to kill that tank. Things are a bit better versus the Porsche Tiger, which at least has the weak turret. Again, against American heavies, they generally have slightly weaker lower hulls, but there isn't too much you can do against the turret. As I stated earlier though, if you do get a full up tier, I would simply just spawn one of the lighter fast tanks and use my better speed to flank the enemy. While the Tigris certainly does have its downsides, and it is fairly map dependent, as I stated, you have so many good vehicles at this battle rating in the Italian tech tree that you can simply just pick another one and your match isn't particularly ruined. Anyway lads, thank you for making it to the conclusion. I personally love my time playing this tank. In my first couple of matches, I get a full up tier fighting against King Tigers and manage to get a nuke. That isn't too much of an achievement when you're playing against mid-tier German teams, but it shows that even in a full up tier, the Tigris is still a beast. The price of nearly 5,000 Golden Eagles will set you back around $25, and for that price, you really can't complain. While I guess it is nearly half the cost of a top tier premium, I think the more relaxed and laid back playstyle of mid-tier War Thunder is a much better experience than top tier. I have no problem whatsoever in recommending this premium. While you could call it lazy on Gaijin's end for just copying and pasting a vehicle from the German tech tree, as we saw in the introduction, Hungary did field these tanks in quite a number of engagements. Anyway lads, thank you very much for watching. As always, a huge thank you to my YouTube members. This channel just wouldn't be possible without your support. So a massive thank you to Lola Alphonse, Tans, WWII, Dr. Bob, Tomster013, RS28 Sarmat, Chulunti, Van Halen, Diogenes, Econ, and newest member, Alan Hacker. As always lads, thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, leave a comment saying goulash.